Welcome back to another Walford Weekly episode where I, Ben, the host, am annoyed once more.
It's another week, another annoyance, another plot point and music that Ben has not enjoyed on this week's show of EastEnders.
I mean, through each story, I will happily start each section off with why I disagree with the characters.
Why you've disliked
As we go.
it. Okay, so shall I...
Each section.
So shall I just let you have your soapbox?
No, you can
no pun
talk
intended.
and interrupt. You're part of the show too.
Well, no. What I mean is that, oh yeah, hello, I'm Alex. I'm part of the show. If you want to make your point first of all, and I'll just enjoy it. I mean, Tuesday's episode, the second episode of the week, it was decidedly all over the place. There was absolutely nothing. Nothing seemed to make any sense, to the point that in the shop they were selling Tesco goods. Like, this is just getting...
It just shows lazy... Things behind the scene a bit lax. It shows. Like, having Tesco products front and centre as well. It wasn't like it was just in the background.
No.
It was more prevalent in the shot than Jean herself.
Yeah, I know. They had that in the foreground and she was just fainting and, blurred in the background. And... I don't know. Do you think that if this was the point of production when they knew that something was up and that they might be slowing down?
They were outside scenes, so maybe these are some of the last scenes they filmed. I don't know. We've got 8 episodes left.
Yes.
In the run. So I guess they would have filmed these before, actually, if there's still 8 left to go. I don't know. But I mean, it does make... I was trying to work out why I'm feeling so disconnected with this show. And I think it's just because of the new characters. And I fall in love with new characters quite easily. Mrs. Hewitt.
Yes.
Obsessed with. Rachel Kaczynski. I didn't have any previous knowledge of her when I watched classic EastEnders. Fell in love with her instantly.
Wonderful.
Shirley. Michelle's flatmate. Not quite so much.
Bit difficult to fall in love with her.
And it's all these new characters. Like, we've got Issac, who's been on this week as a new character.
Well, no, he's been on before.
Yeah, but you just don't know anything about him, so I don't care if he's drinking on a bench. I don't know why he's drinking, and I don't care.
Okay.
I just don't care about any of these characters. We don't know Issac.
But it also goes back to characters that have been on the show who shouldn't be new, but are still kind of feel new. Habiba.
Habiba, yeah, don't really know about her.
Been
what
on for almost
know?
A year. Well, yeah, other than she likes spying on people now. I mean, it's obvious they're making her more of a comical character. So
yeah, they've dumbed her down even more, haven't they?
Well, obviously for the leanings of making her a perfect match for Jax. Can we just talk about the actor who plays Jax for a second?
If you want.
So he had a message for the NHS this week.
Which EastEnders' social media team are just something else.
I mean, they for International Nurses Day, 200 years this year, I believe.
Yeah, since Florence Nightingale's birthday.
There we go. Yes. And the EastEnders press team decided to post a photograph of just houses.
A collection of Walford houses
with
in HD.
Lights beaming out from them.
Not lights, they were like the photos were HD, really crisp, of real set houses. And then they added in like a word art effect of like a sparkle in random windows, and it was just the most ridiculous.
It was like, the word art used to, when if you were a child of the 90s and you were told to do a project for IT and you basically had to make a poster and you literally flung as many fonts and graphics at that poster as you, because you knew that this was new and exciting and you wanted to do it.
You were young.
It felt a bit like that. It felt like that kind of wavy text with the yellow font and the shadow background, and it just like something you remember getting on MS Paint, and you just got really excited when you first saw it.
But it's not like they don't have characters who are nurses or doctors on the show. Sonia and Ash currently on the show, they're both nurses and doctors.
And past characters as well.
Dr. Past, if they want to put real effort into it.
Dr. Singh as well.
Or Walford General set, maybe? I don't know, anything. It's just the fact that they posted these random photos of these houses, which is just ridiculous.
But they were meant to be candles, weren't they? Each beam of light coming from the window was meant to signify a candle.
No, because if you then went over from Twitter to Instagram, you saw like the second part of it.
Okay.
The behind the scenes of the sparkles.
Oh, how they edited a photo with a sparkle in it.
Which was... Some of the cast of the characters were lighting candles in their windows, like Sonia was, or Natalie Cassidy.
And this is where we saw the Jags video. Thank you, NHS. You know in The Simpsons when like Bart imagines he's in prison and he gets a token to get a present from Santa Claus.
Oh, yeah,
and Santa
like-
Claus is behind him saying Merry Christmas, like that. That was Jags' video for thanking the NHS.
And it looked like it wasn't synced up with the audio. So his mouth moved and then the words came after. It's really quite bizarre. So that was a bit of an issue. And that just topped off the word, like a really bad episode. Like after the bad episode aired, the social media team just topped it off with,
let's throw this at the wall and see if it sticks.
Yes.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
In other news, Coronation Street's on over 8 million viewers.
Coronation Street is booming, and we're having to get. It feels like we're getting the dregs a little bit, doesn't it? I don't want to. Right, before anyone starts writing complaints about that, all we do is moan about EastEnders. Yes, we are complaining, but that's because we do want the show to. We believe in you, EastEnders. We believe in you.
It's got the best cast. Well, apart from the cast of characters, we have the best actors on any soap on this show. But the fact that the whole world is in lockdown, the whole of the UK is forced to be inside, and ratings have gone down. What else can you really say?
I mean, to be fair, it's not the fault of the production crew. They didn't know that people were going to be in lockdown, but at the same time, they shouldn't take their foot off the pedal at any point. You know,
yeah, but there is no excuse for ratings to go down when the whole of the UK is
it's a captive
made
market.
to sit inside.
Yeah, it's a captive market, and the fact that people are tuning into Coronation Street and enjoying the stories that they're presenting. And well, I mean, this week, you know, the stories were fine, but there were so many, which we'll discuss in a minute, so many plot holes, so many moments where it didn't make any sense.
It was moments where characters' decisions didn't make any sense. Like, I hate to talk about classic EastEnders because I always bring it up. But when I'm watching classic EastEnders at the moment and I'm sitting there and I'm trying to make these funny comments like I do on current EastEnders, I go, oh, that's not been mentioned. Ha ha ha. And then like 2 minutes later, it gets mentioned and it actually makes sense. And it's like, oh, that's really well done. Whereas current EastEnders, these characters are making these choices which don't make sense. So as we go on to each part, I'll say which bit don't make sense.
Okay.
And the first one is the Ben and Callum storyline we're doing.
What doesn't make sense, Ben?
Well... a lot of it. I have to say, actually, before I do moan, that I really hate Dennis's bench. It stands out too much in the park.
It's a metal bench in a kind of a woody
and the colours
kind of
are like,
park.
Ugh, it's horrible.
With the colours of West Ham. So
Yeah,
any
I
West
know.
Ham supporters out there, please excuse Ben's dislike.
Well, no, but like just seeing that in the middle of the square is just really horrible.
It
needs to be weathered straight away.
Yeah, for me it's stark because it doesn't suit the kind of park that it's being positioned into.
It's awful.
It's a very classic... Well, it's not even a park. Why are
should
we
be-
calling it a park? It's just a garden.
Maybe put it in like the park,
Actually
the
put it in the
kids'
park.
park outside the Arches, maybe with all the metal framework might fit in better.
Dennis
there.
preferred that park as well.
Yep, he saw Phil beat up all those gang in front of him and saved his life there.
Also, it's got a reputation for the Mitchells as being a place to go for a bit of nookie.
So maybe that's where it should be.
Yeah.
It would fit in better there, I feel.
And it would suit the situation for Phil at the moment feeling a bit sorry for himself because he feels like he's the one responsible for...
You could look out the Arches from doing someone's oil and see the bench.
Doing someone's oil.
He can eat his sandwiches on the bench near his work. It would suit quite well. But my main problem is the Ballum storyline. And actually, we always say, like, oh, be careful moaning about Ballum. But even the Ballum fans were turning against them this week online. But the choices of Ben and how... Because Danny Hardcastle's back. Phil's got a big job to do, which is, like... moving money from some sort of factory that's hidden somewhere.
No, it's a warehouse, isn't it? He drew a map. A map of
and it's like
some
it's something
detail.
about moving money, and you break into this place, move the money, and go somewhere or something stupid.
But I'm presuming it's going to get heavy, which is why Danny Hardcastle... Sorry, I sound London. It's going to get heavy. Because Danny was insistent that Ben doesn't have any involvement because Ben is bludgeoning the Mitchell name, and like a lot of people in these parts don't see the Mitchell name as very strong anymore.
Oh yeah, Ben's a joke in the gangs or whatever.
So it might get to, fisticuffs. And Phil is a bit like, well... No, Ben is just as good as I am. And so then hits Danny and basically says, I want Ben to have the job. And so that's it.
No, Phil like gets Danny to the Archers, punches him.
Yeah.
And then he turns up to Ben and basically he's double crossing Danny, and him and Ben are going to do the job behind Danny's back.
Right. So why hasn't Danny then just, when Phil hit him...
Like, we didn't know what happened after that, did we, really?
Supposedly, Danny was like, okay, that's fine, you have the job together. Unless Danny said, no way. This is my problem. For me, surely if someone hits you saying, no, my son should be working too, you say, well, no, then you just don't get the job. I've already said to you, the Mitchell name
they're
has
not
no
working.
reputation.
They're not working for Danny.
Well, so Danny's
They're doing
just
it
passed on the
behind-
intel.
Yeah, but they're doing it behind his back to get the money instead of Danny.
Okay, so it does make sense then. So Danny probably then supposedly said to Phil, well, no, you're an idiot. And, I've already told you the Mitchell name means nothing. So Phil is now doing it behind Ben's back. But doing it again, okay, so if this is the case, doing it very casually. Like, you think it would be a job that has a bit of immediacy to it. Not something they could wait 2 days for Ben to have his operation and then carry on with it. Because Danny's already knows that the job is there. So Danny will probably be fixing the plan up himself with his numerous men that he probably has at the snap of his hat.
Yeah, what happened to that other bold guy who kidnapped Louise? He could do it for him. What was his name? Clint or something? Or Marv? I just can't remember what his name was. He did have a name.
He's plentiful with goons. Plentiful.
Jags.
Well, Phil has none. All he has is Ben, who can't be used for 2-3. Well, and also, if Ben's having the operation before they do the plan, inverted commas, how many days rest is Ben going to have?
No, it's during the operation.
During the operation?
It's the day... It's the day of the operation. This thing has to be done, I think, which is even more stupid. That
Why?
Phil, I know that Phil, who I thought Ben and Phil had made up since the whole Dennis death thing.
Yeah, they had, because Phil said he loved him and that he was not disappointed.
Ben's still trying to get Phil's attention, which is why he's now double crossed Callum and trying to get this information from Callum, because Callum's been at the police for 1 day. He's now been like, "Don't worry, Dad, I can get some intel from Callum."
Yeah. Even Callum says to Ben, this while Ben's talking, he says to him, "This is above my pay grade. I could never tell you any information." He's in police training. He probably knows nothing of what's happening on the streets of London right now. What does he honestly think he's going to get? Information.
If I was Callum, I would get the information from Ben and I'd go to my superiors and be like, "Just got this tip off here. The Mitchell guys that you're looking for, they're about to steal this money." And then I'd be there and I'd be like, "That's your fault, Ben."
And it would be his fault. And then Callum gets that promotion, which we're all expecting is going to happen, that he just immediately becomes detective because he's such a great police officer.
Because Callum's wearing a new coat now, if you noticed.
I did, yeah.
He's wearing a police coat. He looks like Jack Branning now, walking around the square.
I know. He's not going to. I just know he's not going to end up working in any way in uniform. He's just going to go straight into detective sergeant, and by the end of the year, he'll be running the whole of the Metropolitan Police.
I mean, what did you make of the Ben and Callum argument situation? Because it was in the hospital, and Ben was using this as time to basically just get information from Callum, even though he promised to Callum he wouldn't do this again to him.
Yeah.
They
2
had
weeks
this
ago.
whole new relationship together. And I was like, actually, no, Callum, you're right. You should have stormed off like
Callum's
you did.
100% right.
But the next episode, Callum will just come back and apologise again, because that always happens.
Which is the cycle of Ballum, because this is all we get from Ballum all the time. It's just, there's always something where, well, normally Ben has said something which has upset Callum, and Callum's like, "I don't know why Callum's in this relationship, I really don't."
I know there's not much for him, really.
There's
is
nothing
there?
for him. All the
He
benefits.
gets a bit of fun every now and then, I guess, but Ben can't be that good.
Well, I mean, he probably is quite good, because if you remember, when Callum had gone missing for what seemed like 2 weeks, but in EastEnders time it was like 1 day. Oh no, it was the other way around. It was 1 day, but in EastEnders time, like his mobile phone. Remember when he fell over? When he was going
Callum
down
was
the stairs?
kidnapped. Oh yeah,
Callum
yes,
got
yes.
kidnapped by Keanu.
Oh yeah, the first thing he wanted to do was a bit of fun
First time
upstairs.
he wanted to have sex. Yeah, he had like a broken rib, brain trauma, broken arm, and he's
Dehydrated.
like, yeah, dehydrated. Oh, it's fine. I can go upstairs and we can do it. It's fine.
Oh yeah.
And Ben had the ear problem, and yet they were they were
yeah.
fine. Absolutely not a
So
problem at all.
I mean, I did put on Twitter. I joked saying, "Imagine if Danny Hardcastle arranges Callum to get killed off like at Christmas," because Danny Hardcastle said, "Oh, Callum's a bit of a problem being with the police.
Yeah.
Can't have to sort that out." And I can actually see it happening. They've made Ben a character, and Callum is just there as part of Ben. He's not his own guy. And I can just see them killing off a gay character, which they always do on soaps. They kill off a gay character.
Gay characters seem to just be death warrants.
And I can just imagine that he's a policeman, he's in training. Danny will arrange him to get hurt, and it will be like he got hurt on the job, and he'll end up being killed. I can just imagine it now.
And he'll have a full funeral because he's been in the police force for like 6 weeks. He like gets a full funeral where like there'll be police officers lining the track where his coffin goes down.
Yeah.
Because again, EastEnders. But you need to be careful with your theories of Danny Hardcastle, because you made a theory a couple of weeks ago about him taking over the Vic, and people have picked up on that and now are very worried that this is going to be the new Patrick storyline.
It could happen because Phil's told him that he's desperate for money and he kind of wants to buy the Vic. So Danny will probably be like, "Well, you've punched me, you've double crossed me on this job, so I'm going to buy the Vic out of behind your back.
But do you think Mick would do that behind Phil's back?
I don't know.
Do you think the price would be right for Mick to double cross Phil after Phil had then promised to look after Linda?
I don't know.
Did you feel there was a bit of a tension? Because this week Phil went into the Vic, kind of just to say, don't forget to keep the Vic up for sale because I'll be wanting to buy it soon. And Linda, again, there's the tension between Linda and Phil, their relationship. I liked it, the fact that they are, or Phil was supporting her, but like Linda still doesn't quite trust him.
Well, she's also not 100% convinced she should sell, is she? I don't think. I think that's what it is.
I think she's convinced. I think it's Mick who's not convinced. I think Mick sees like this is basically his livelihood for the last 8 years, pubs before that as well, and now he's giving everything up.
Well, he's doing it for his ale, isn't he?
He is, but there's always going to be something inside that makes him feel like this is as much a part of my life as Linda.
Yeah, it's an odd one, the Vic, but we're not going to know the outcome for that for months yet. So maybe we should go on. Is there anything else you need to say about these cool cats? Cats and kittens?
No, nothing.
No, just more dread for Ballum.
And more relationship woes for Ballum, which is just, this is not how gay relationships or any relationships work. Like, people don't just get together and then hate on one another every 1 or 2 weeks to then break up again and again and again.
Ben had a temperature as well, everyone, so he's ill.
Well, I don't know if do you reckon, I thought he was just kind of panicking and worrying.
No, he's got a temperature. I think he's caught it from Lexi.
Oh, so that's the reason
why that was all going on.
Well, okay, if we're going to talk about Lexi, Lola and her bad parentage continues. Every time Lexi gets sick, Lola passes the buck to Ben.
I know. Can you do something about it? She's at home. It's like, okay, thanks.
Watching This Morning and finding out how she can like fix her dyed hair. You know, it's like, for goodness sake, Lola.
That's more characters actually that I don't care for. But we'll talk about them later. But we're going to go on to Rainie and Stuart now.
Now characters I love. Rainie and Stuart. You can't not love Rainie and Stuart.
No, that's right. I mean, I am verging on worrying that both of them are turning slightly into caricatures. Slightly.
Okay.
That is a slight...
God, you really have a negative for every story this week, don't you?
Yes, I do.
There's no positive here at all.
And like this whole thing, because they're trying to get a divorce, but they're trying to work out like how much Max is worth, even though we know Max is worth nothing.
Right, yeah, because this all stems...
Because he didn't really buy Walford East, he just got given to it by Masood, because Masood wanted to leave quickly, didn't he? And he doesn't have his own house because he lives with Jack.
No, he's a partner. He is a partner. He's a full
I know,
partner.
but he didn't buy it from him.
I'm sure he did. He must have, otherwise he wouldn't be a partner.
I thought he had no money though, because he doesn't have his own house either, because he lives with Jack for free.
He always seems to have money. He's living with Jack because I think it's a bit of stability. Is he living with Jack? I'm just thinking, does Keegan and Tiff live with Jack?
Yeah, and baby Abby and Max.
Toddler Abby.
Yeah, toddler Abby. She's upgraded.
Mm-hmm. Trademark.
We saw her for the first time in 2020.
Oh, that's
it's
nice.
her first appearance.
Do you reckon she looks like her mother yet?
Yeah.
Does she look like her dad? Good old Stephen.
But they're still looking at ways to... Rainie wants to keep baby Abby in her life. She wants to take Max for all he's worth so they can pay for a wedding. But why don't they just get divorced and surely they'd be able to do 50-50, wouldn't they? I don't really...
Well, no, because it all comes down to whether she can prove that everything Max has earned in their marriage warrants her getting 50% of it. I mean, she's got the car lot. That's one strength for her. She can say that
Jay's got that.
No, before Jay bought it back, or Ben got it back from Max, because Max didn't actually own it.
Oh, because it was all legal, wasn't it?
Yeah, he basically kind of did it like...
He said he owned it, even though he didn't.
Yeah, that's it. And so, but when Rainie and Max were running that, Rainie had a big contribution in earning the money from the car lot at that point, so she could argue that for her alimony.
And she did want to work at Walford East for a bit, didn't she? But they wouldn't let her, I think.
Yeah, both Ian and Max kind of put this
it's all
kind
very
of onto that.
Muddled. I mean, because the spacing of this is like we see a bit every month or so, it's hard to remember what is even there going on. And the fact they've brought up that they need to be divorced, but like Ian's still not brought up the fact he needs to be divorced from Jane. It's like, well, some characters
I know,
some characters do have to get divorced, some characters don't. I don't know.
It's strange they've not done that, like,
a bit weird,
as
isn't it?
even as a passing point. It's like, I got the divorce papers today from Jane. That needs to be settled, considering that Ian was actively trying to get together with Mel a year ago and knowing that he was still married. So he's been married to Jane like for 5 years, 6 years?
Yeah, 2015, 14.
Yeah, it was the anniversary episode. And he's not like divorced her yet. But the reason why she wants the half of Max's money isn't for anything of good reasoning. It's because she wants to have a top class wedding, which really disappoints me, because we talked about the wedding in 2 or 3 episodes ago and how I was really looking forward to having this kind of a bit tacky, a bit over the top wedding. I didn't expect it to be like money thrown at it. I expected it to be a little bit like...
Because Stuart was having all these weird ideas, which was very up their street.
Well, he wanted to reuse the...
Hearse.
Yeah, he wanted
the
to
flowers.
basically he wanted to reuse everything that the funeral parlour already has to make a wedding from it, which is great. Which is, you know, in society at the moment, reusing
Yeah,
what you
she's
have.
not going to get a big wedding anyway, but this is going, is she?
Well, exactly that. You know, if they're gonna start introducing COVID stories into EastEnders, and for me, I do understand where Rainie would be coming from. Like, this is. She's found a man who actually respects her and loves her, and she respects and loves back, which she's never had her whole life. She's got a child, which she's never had and she's always wanted. And it's almost like a complete package now to be able to just say, and I've had this dream wedding. And although Rainie doesn't seem to be the kind of character who'd want a dream wedding in the kind of strictest sense, like, you know, Godzilla bride, you kind of can understand because she's had such a hard life and had to fight so hard to get where she is. And it's almost like, this is my reward now. So I get it. I get why she wants to get that money from Max. At 50%.
Yeah, but the plot points leading to it just don't quite add up. Like how Max is suddenly refusing a divorce, but he's in a relationship with Ruby.
He's not refusing the divorce because he went.
He was originally though. That's
he
what
was,
I mean.
but then he did. But he was doing that out of spite. Because
that's what I mean. It's all just like
but
silly
Max is
plot.
spiteful, so that doesn't make that makes complete sense for me.
And now we've got the point where Rainie wants to plant a mole to find out and investigate how much Max is worth in Walford East, and that's where Habiba comes in.
Habiba's really getting active on the scene now, isn't she?
know.
They obviously must have heard us moaning about Habiba not being in the soap very often. So what do? They make her a dumb character and start making her
Double her lines, 2 lines.
She had loads of lines on Tuesday's episode.
So she's all up for, because obviously last time, because Habiba went missing for like 4 months, but the episode before she went missing, she was investigating Ian as her little PI in her catsuit.
Yes.
And now that's what she's starting up again, her detective.
Do you
work.
think this is heading to an actual storyline where her and Jags start a private investigation?
What, in the call centre?
Well, yeah, or something along those lines.
No. Do you think?
For me, I wouldn't hate it, but because it kind of then it kind of basically says, right, to the audience,
your jokes.
They are the joke characters. You should be laughing at them,
but
with them.
Habiba could be so much more, though.
I agree.
There was glimpses of it last year when she and Honey were doing that makeup thing upstairs.
Yeah.
And there's some real heart behind Habiba, but we're just left with this like idiot in a catsuit doing detective work. I don't know what she expects to find in Walford East, because she's just a waitress. And
she was going to investigate to find out how much money Max has been taking out of the company for like his wage.
Right.
But this is all stuff I'm fairly certain, which if done through solicitors,
a
solicitor can discover.
Gray, he works for free.
Yeah, but
he can do it.
But he'll say this isn't his law, though, won't he?
Oh, that doesn't matter.
Well,
he takes on anything now.
Jack of many trades, master of none.
But yeah, that's all there is to say about these guys.
Which is a shame because
one thing actually, they brought up Max being buried alive.
Yes. And suggested they do it again.
Which some people might not realise, but these episodes should have aired over Easter. It was when Max was buried over Easter, because he risen again, didn't he, on like the Sunday episode or whatever it was. Well, so that's why they put that in there.
But also to people who might realise, it's surprising that they've mentioned it again, because it got such a bad complaints when they actually did the storyline at the time. And it's almost like the baby swap story, which is almost an unwritten law, I presume, for the writers, that you never mention it again. No, it's like it's never mentioned again.
If you want to pinpoint the decline in EastEnders as a real gradual graph, baby swap week is the point.
Yeah, but the reason for that is because then the producers were told by the BBC...
Yeah, you're not allowed to do nothing anymore.
Don't do any ridiculous... Well, it wasn't ridiculous, but don't do any storylines of that nature.
Nothing gritty.
Yeah, nothing dark or gritty again. And everything has to be passed now through like a censorship system, I believe, at the BBC.
So that's the pinpoint of quality control.
So where Coronation Street, to a degree, Hollyoaks, can do stories...
Anything they want.
Yeah, can do stories which are a bit dark, a bit gritty, could be considered to be maybe a little bit risky. EastEnders will always have that extra barrier that the other soaps don't have, where they will always have that check before they can go any further. So recently, when they've had a few stories, Dennis dying, for instance, I was shocked that they were allowed to do that.
Yeah, I was surprised.
Really surprised.
Like, Bex's suicide, I guess. She didn't actually commit suicide, where maybe 15 years ago in EastEnders she would have.
Yeah, they probably would have gone all the way
like
through.
that.
This is the thing, isn't it? If EastEnders, I think if the writers were allowed to do it, I think Bex perhaps it would have been a full suicide.
Yeah.
But they have to show some light in the dark. I suppose is a good way of explaining it. And so in this instance, but then that's like I say in Boat Week when they killed off a teenager, a child character, on their biggest soap. I was surprised they were allowed to go through with that. I thought they would at least have like a kind of long coma storyline.
And the repercussions of Dennis's death will
never be seen again.
Will echo for years to come with multiple characters, is what we're promised.
Yeah, well, just have to wait and see. Habiba's story is more echoey than Dennis's death.
Right, so we're going to go on to what is probably one of the most soap's staple storylines, Issac. The I'm a Secret Son, speaking of dangerous storylines.
And I'm a Secret Drinker, talking about a staple EastEnders storyline.
You know what? Months ago, December, when he was announced as a male and he was announced as a school teacher.
Professional.
I'd written him off. All those months ago, I said, no, there's no point even contemplating attaching myself to this man because he's a professional male, so therefore he's going to be bad. Mm-hmm. And what have they done? He's apparently an alcoholic and got a bit of a temper on him and
doesn't like
exposes
children.
himself in front of children.
Yeah.
So my issues of this storyline was
that first of all they've ruined any professional male character.
Yes, you just can't. I let my guard down with Grey and I was destroyed.
Once bitten, twice shy.
Pride Week, Grey was like the perfect man, male character, the new Arthur.
He loved the gays.
He was fun. Yeah, it was
he almost kissed Mick.
Yeah. I loved him.
The rainbow flag was flying. He was hot. We all wanted him.
So my main issue with Issac, who is a educated teacher, is the fact that he's bunked off this school trip. He knows beforehand the route of this school trip because he was meant to be part of it.
Can I just quickly side note here? School trip for the children of Walford School.
Yeah.
Round Albert Square.
Yes.
That was the school trip.
With strange age groups because like Amy was there, but Bailey was there, and like Bert and Ernie were. It was like all the child characters, but none of them are the same age group. So why would they be on the same trip?
Well, also true. It's like if I was at school and I was 12, 13 years old and I got signed off to go to a trip around the local Asda. That's what basically this school trip was.
It was interesting. But the fact...
Not to them it wasn't.
No. The thing that really was stupid was that he went into Denise's salon to steal like a bottle of rum to then drink on all the routes of the school trip in front of the children while hiding from them.
A bottle of rum which he knew was there.
Yeah, which he could have just bought from literally any shop, anywhere.
But no, also true, yeah.
So why did he do
that? Because he was already,
What, he thought enough to go into this salon where there might be a bottle of rum under someone's workstation?
Yeah, but he'd been drinking before that, hadn't he? Because he'd quickly put a little sniff in the... coffee that he was drinking.
Yes, he did, because Marie gave him a bit of a judgy eye.
Didn't she? Yeah. Marie had a line this week.
Did she?
Yeah. Oh. She said, sit down, bring it over.
Love her. She's the
Oscar winning.
She's the only character I can relate to at the moment.
Same.
Actually. She's the only realistic character. So that was silly, and he was just walking around getting drunk, and I guess we're meant to assume he's upset about his parentage, but Cherie's texted him, her only text she's ever sent him, saying, hope you're okay.
Again, this is another flaw, right? If we're talking about... this week's episode is called Problems with EastEnders. 101. The mobile phone, whenever someone texts someone, why do they always have that as their first text?
I know.
It won't take long for them just to write 2 or 3 texts.
Because they started doing it a few months ago when it was Kate Oat era, the wonderful February to August last year, where the show was at its peak in many ways. They had previous text messages on things when Linda was looking at a phone from Tina and Ben was looking at his phone from people. They had them. Now they're all disappeared again. This is just another lazy bit of production like the Tesco chocolate mints in Minute Mart.
Mint thins.
Yeah. It's just like all these little things do add up, you know.
No, absolutely. It's just that you're meant to. This is meant to be almost set in reality soaps. Like you do suspend some reality. You realise that it's a bit heightened. But at least the basics, the absolute basics, get them right. Make sure that there are text messages already on someone's phone. If there's someone you've just met, or you're doing a secret job like going into a warehouse behind Danny Harcastle's back and didn't realise, and you're getting some goons in. fine, not a problem. Or maybe you've just got a new phone. Okay, if you could explain it away that time. But it's the fact that that's his mother. Someone he's had contact with numerous occasions before he even entered the soap, because she kept getting secret text messages and phone calls, and Denise thought she was having an affair or was married behind Patrick's back. And then he looks at his phone, there's only text message on there. And I mean, again, if this was a few years ago, fine, a Nokia 3310 could only hold 20 messages. You had to delete them from time to time. But an iPhone or a Samsung, you have infinite messages.
And also the message was, hope you're okay. It's like, Mum,
no,
do you
not really.
Do you remember what happened before you hopped on that plane drunk off your ass? So yeah, it's all a bit strange. So he's just walking around Walford getting drunk. We're assuming is he an alcoholic? Because he's done this a few times and he gets angry when he's drunk. He befriended Linda when he saw signs of her.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, that's
drinking
true.
in the school gates and stuff.
Yeah.
But the last thing we need is another alcoholic on the square.
We don't need it, because if it was rooted on the fact that Linda was going to be needed a friend, a shoulder to cry on, she could relate to Isaac. Fine, if that was the case. Then you should have brought Isaac in 3 months earlier. Don't bring him in around Christmas time when it was Linda's height. Yeah. So that's fine. But she's found a friend now. She's found Phil. And it's just, there's no need for there to be a character that's reliant on alcohol to the point that it's actually ruining his professional career. He doesn't do the school trip.
Why is he doing that?
Work.
I don't really get it. It's just, we don't know enough about Isaac, do we? That's the trouble.
But the world around him has crumbled. The man he thought was his father is no longer his father. A man who he doesn't particularly like and despises, and thinks that he only married his mum because she's young and sexy, but as actually there's more kind of more background between them. This is the thing. Perhaps we should have established first of all Patrick and Cherie's relationship and how they knew each other.
We don't really know
on.
them either.
No,
like, really.
If we knew that, then Isaac's backstory is reciprocated by the knowledge of us knowing about Patrick and Cherie's. Because you could kind of just hop on the back of Patrick and Cherie's story and kind of fill in the gaps yourself with Isaac's story. But because we don't know about them, there's no gaps that we can fill for Isaac. So there's no way we can relate to it for him. And we can feel anything for him. So at the moment, we just see a character that likes to drink and sharks responsibilities because he feels a little bit sad. And it's like,
I mean, the only saving grace of Isaac's storyline is that Denise is involved, because she's like the best actress and she just elevates the storyline from its dregs to being hard, kind of acceptable.
Yeah.
So at least we got Denise involved, which is always good.
I love Denise. Every time she kind of pops her head round the corner, you just know that some advice is coming their way.
Yeah.
And
Gonna get a few good looks from her. Yes.
Who did she get angry with? Was it she got angry with someone? Was it this week or last week? Oh, it was last week. She had to go at Isaac because he shirked his responsibility of looking after
Put him straight.
Yeah, looking after Tommy.
Lovely. Right, our next storyline is Jay and Lola. Again, Peter Bill's only trait from his 20 years on the show is that he's a bit of a drip. So that's one thing they've got correct with his recast, I guess. But there's just not much there, is there, with Peter? A character who's been on it since birth. We saw his birth.
Oh, yeah.
Named after the famous Pete Bill.
What?
Got a lot to live up to.
Yeah.
And there's just not much.
He doesn't like a liar.
I just don't know anything about Pete. Oh,
he doesn't like a liar.
Yeah. They've literally just copy and paste Dottie's script.
They've done that on
it to
purpose.
Peter.
I'm sorry, they've done that on purpose.
Don't like liars.
Peter and Dottie are clearly going to be getting together, and it's gonna make the story of Dottie's reveal about.
Well, I don't like liars either.
Yeah.
Guess what? Your dad is one. What? But yeah, this whole triangle between Jay and Lola is just the most ridiculous thing that no one cares about. Like, there's no peril there.
It's like Peter is actively trying to ruin the
I know, like,
relationship.
why is he like, if he asks me, I'm going to have to tell him. It's like, why? No, literally
he doesn't like
no
a liar.
one cares.
I don't like liars. Lola doesn't like people playing games.
I don't like Lola.
I
just want Lola and Peter and Jay to just get in a three-way relationship and move off to the square.
That would be better.
Just get rid of them.
But that'd be an interesting story as well. Like, the first three openly open.
Yeah, because Peter and Jay like each other.
Ruby could join in and make it a foursome.
Yeah, with
she
Max.
likes open relationships. Why not? Max could polish off his head and go in for a 5.
Yeah, I can't even pretend that I could create an interesting storyline from these characters, because I don't think I could.
You shouldn't have to. The writers should create the interesting storyline.
I know, but they brought back Lola, they've recast Peter, and now they've given them a love triangle with Jay Brown. It's like, really?
But it's not a love triangle. I don't think Peter has any...
No, he doesn't.
Yeah, so it's not
Dale
a love
Hudson
triangle.
said in an interview, Dottie is who his affections are towards. So this whole love triangle is just pointless anyway, this whole thing. And like the fact where he's saying, I'm going to have to tell Jay, and she's really worried. It's like, I just don't care. I just don't care. I don't care if any of this secret gets revealed or anything.
Well, the thing is, if that secret does get revealed, what is the fallout from it? Jay's a bit upset. I suppose Lola then again has to kind of fight for her relationship with Jay. She's not really shown real attraction for Jay. It's weird.
No, she said that when Peter turned up, she looked at him and she said, "Oh yeah, Jay's all right, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't really love him. He's just kind of there. So what's the big deal?"
So Lola is rightfully guilty for it. I mean, I don't think Peter obviously played a part, but Lola actively went forward and wanted it.
Takes two to tango.
But you're right, it does take two to tango. But I think the only thing is that Lola hasn't really shown that she fought tooth and nail to get Jay back. Now she's got Jay back. It's like I think she prefers to the chase than the actual relationship itself. Do you know what I mean? So now she's got Jay. She's bored of him. And wants move on to the next adventure.
Well, I'm bored of them too, and I'm going to move on to the next adventure as well.
Okay,
So there.
fair enough.
So the next one is Jean. I think everyone can guess what my problems are with Jean's storyline.
I can't guess. Please do divulge.
I mean, talking about how earlier you said, EastEnders is set in reality, I wasn't aware that My Life had a background track to it, but apparently it does.
What, the CSI Miami theme tune?
Yeah, I mean, the music that they chose. I mean, the music as an overall theme, I hate. But when they then choose music which sounds like the royalty-free music you find on a CD somewhere,
iMovie.
it's just ridiculous. And the fact that it wasn't just used in the one continuous scene, it was broken up into two scenes with this music. And it wasn't music that was playing in the background of the market.
Well, apart from when she was in the Minute Mark getting herself some Tesco Mint Thins,
Yes.
apart from then, because it sounded like she was, it sounded like...
That's what I thought. It was like,
it was
it's
from the
music
market.
from Winston's Stool or something.
Yeah.
And it's making her confused. But it wasn't that, because it was carrying on throughout her fit and all sorts. And it was just ridiculous.
I'm going to defend EastEnders, and I do tend to defend their music choices, because I'm not as bad...
You can't defend this music
Well,
choice,
no, wait,
though.
I can, and I will. I don't find them playing incidental music as bad as I know a lot of people do, and I've not got such a big issue of it than you do, as I have said in the past. And in this instance, when Jean left, the music did sound a bit like that it was in her head, almost like a headache. It was throbbing in her ears. And so because she was very close to passing out, and she was on the edge of having ultimately she was having a fit.
Seizure.
A seizure. I do think that it was perhaps the music from the market that was echoing in her head because of her panic, because she was losing control. So I don't think the music was incidental music. I think it was just background music being played through Jean's ears. A bit like, let me just finish my point, a bit like when Ben, every time someone talks to Ben, so you're hearing it from Ben's perspective. I'm not necessarily saying it's a good choice, because it's almost, again, it's hand-feeding the audience. This is how the emotion is. This is what you're meant to feel.
Sure, they don't trust their own stories. And they're like, can we... This is so badly portrayed. Maybe we should put in a bit of music.
I don't know if they don't trust their own story. I think it's the fact that they're spoon-feeding the audience. And I think
don't need it.
This is my point. I think it's a bit disrespectful to the audience. I think the production need to know that actually people who watch EastEnders aren't stupid. They can get a story. They can understand. They can watch it from beginning, middle, and end, make a judgment, make a choice. You don't need to tell us how to feel throughout it. And if an audience should feel differently to what you originally wanted to portray it, embrace it and try to do something new with it. I mean, they always constantly say, we never thought that Ballum was going to be this big thing. We never thought people were going to, call it Ballum. And to me, I think, yeah, you did. You did think Ballum was going to be a big thing.
Of course, Kate did. She's done it before,
Yeah,
twice.
It's been done twice before. It's a tried and proven concept. Of course, they knew it was going to be successful.
One of them will die.
But if we're going to go on the basis that they didn't know about it, when they did find out that it was a success and a lot of people liked it, and it was something that brought in people to watch the soap, they embraced it and they did something with it. Well, trust your audience to do that again. If there's a story that you're trying to tell and the audience is taking it maybe in a different direction to what you intended it, embrace it. Listen to the feedback and maybe either surprise the audience and kind of counteract their view and do something a bit new and different, or do something which the audience can get on board with even better. Don't just kind of like say, oh, well, the audience obviously don't really understand it, so we'll just soften it up a little bit and kind of downplay it and make it a little bit easier for them to understand.
But they also do it with their best assets. Like they did it with Whitney, who's a great actress. They've done it with Jean. They don't need that. Jean, she doesn't need this background music and these silly camera effects because she can do it all herself. And I saw someone put on Walford Web and they said, do you remember when Billy died and Carol found out and she went from the bookies to her house across the market and it stayed on her and it was silent and you just heard her breathing and it was uninterrupted. And that was like, that's remembered still to today. And someone put on Walford Web, imagine that scene, but they had these music and halfway between the scene it would cut to a fight between Kat and Alfie and then cut back to Carol and you just lose everything. And it's like the same thing with this Jean situation, and it's almost like when she had the seizure it felt like, oh, this is the duff, but then it cut to Keegan.
Oh yeah,
and it was like, what, why have they done this? It was really weird. I
thought that was going to be the duff as well, and it was such it was wasted. The impact of it again was wasted, but again I just feel like the audience are being mollycoddled. It's like, oh, you can't handle this too much, so we'll just give you a kind of like a watered down version of something.
Also, the part of where characters aren't acting like real humans applies to this again, because it's basically Jean's had many relapses for her time on the show. Shirley's seen them before, Mo's seen them before, like lots of characters have seen them. She's walking around like this, obviously, to anyone who knows her, she's having a relapse. But everyone's like, no, she's not, she's fine. Well, no, that's just Jean. It's like, no, it's not. And how they were all walking around the square trying to find her, but she'd passed out outside the cafe with everyone around her just walking past.
It was like, what, 2 meters away from where Shirley had just said, I can't find her anyway. But then you have to remember, Shirley is pretty damn bad at hide and seek. She couldn't find Callum. Remember? Halfway, where are you? Well, I've looked around the warehouse, can't find her.
Yeah, Tina.
Yeah,
who
Tina
should have died on the boat.
Tina, well, at least she got involved. At least she had a few, bits and pieces to do. But
I mean, Max, his one line. Yeah. Jean. And cut. Okay, Jake Wood, thanks. Bye.
Yeah, here's £100,000. Go do your podcast. Go do something other than EastEnders.
I'm not surprised the actors are bored because their material is just so literally nothing. So Jean has had a seizure. I'm guessing it's because they're crushing her pills, which they keep making look really menacing when it's not. They're not like drugging her. Do you know what I mean?
It's weird. They're making it menacing. It's like they're kind of doing it against their free will, you know. So when Kush did it, he gave her the cup of tea or the soup. Sorry.
Yeah, he looked really like,
oh my god, I can't believe I just crushed pills in someone's drink. It's pills that they should be taking.
And then the next episode, the duff was Kush looking over Shirley's shoulder, like, crush the pill, Shirley.
Yeah, in the pestle and mortar as well.
I'll do it, Kush. I will. Dun, dun, dun,
it's the fact he actually bought. Like, I'm sorry, but the Slaters do not cook or have any kind of like cookery master skills.
Because Jean cooks, but not well.
Sausage surprise, which is a tin of beans, some mashed potato, and some sausages stuck in it. And that they warrant them having a pestle and mortar. And I know that Ian Bill cooked for them Christmas dinner one time, and Mo kept some of his kitchen utensils. But again,
she would have sold them.
They would have been gone by now.
Yeah.
Joe, and also Mo was busy with Big Fat Elvis, doing something. We don't know what, but that got her out of the way for the story this week. And so, it's just the fact that she was just like, kind of crushing it, and like a tear was coming down her eye, and you just saw Kush in the background kind of watching over as if to say, it was almost like they were pushing illegal drugs onto Jean.
But why do they not just look online or phone a doctor, like ask for help and advice? There's loads of help and advice for stuff like this. Phone Stacey and say, Stacey, this is happening. Is there anything what we could do to help?
Talk to Sonia.
Sonia, she'll know. Yeah, she's very helpful. I mean, people are time of need.
Yeah, people are very quick to talk to Jack when they need to get out of trouble. But whenever there's a medical problem, why does no one ever go to Sonia? It's like she's your resident nurse.
Yeah, so I mean, she had a seizure, Jean. Is it because they're just crushing pills and she's getting the wrong dose of things, or are we having another illness storyline for Jean?
Oh, I don't know. I'm presuming it's just an imbalance in her body system.
Yeah.
So perhaps
they're crushing random pills and putting whatever in tea.
This will do. Aspirin.
So maybe that's why the seizures happened. But yes, more to follow next week because Suki gets involved.
Oh, good.
So
I do love Jean and Suki's hate relationship. And
focus more on that.
I agree. I mean, there was no need to put Jean in this story where she goes off her pills again.
Yeah, we've seen it before.
It's lazy. It's just so lazy. Do something new with Jean. You gave her the cancer storyline. You can tell that Gillian Wright can do the story.
Plus, at the end of it with Daniel, they gave Jean a whole new arc. Like, be more Jean.
Yeah.
And then they've just gone, oh, no, we'll just get her off her pills.
Yeah.
Do that again.
She'll just think that's what Be More Jean is. And it's like, they could have, as you say, they could have done so much with the Sookie and Jean story. Like, it's, again, Sookie's story. She lied about having cancer.
Yeah,
She
no
told-
one cares.
Yeah, just swept it under the carpet. She's now sat in the middle of the cafe, bold as brass, eating a donut.
Wouldn't get that
Why?
with Ange, would you?
No, you would. Andrew would have given her a slap round the face, but then they would have gone upstairs, had the gin and tonic, and talked it over, and they'd be best of friends.
Exactly.
That's the old East End. That's the old East End. That's how I want EastEnders. Yeah, you fall out with someone. Yeah, you get upset with someone. But in 6 months
Yeah,
down
Jean
the line,
just slaps her.
give
At
her
least.
a slap, have a cup of tea, donut at the kitchen table.
You lying bitch.
Yeah,
That's
all
what we need.
sorted.
Right, so the next storyline is Keegan, Jack, Tiff, and Denise, of course, because she's in all the storylines. She's the new Stacey. Pops up in all the storylines. A few issues with this storyline. No, not that many issues. But my main issue is the fact Jack, who's found this new evidence, and instead of just letting it go through the police system and get Keegan proven he's innocent, he's like, oh no, I'll take it from the police. I'll show it to Keegan on a USB. So Keegan now knows he's innocent. But instead of going, oh thanks Keegan, I'll take that evidence back. That could get me fired and probably get me a fine or maybe time in prison.
Which he actually did say to Keegan as well. Because
Yeah.
Keegan was like, oh, I'm gonna show this to... Who he was going to show it to was his mum and dad, Karen and Mitch.
He didn't need to show it to his mum and dad either. Just tell them, Mum, there's new evidence. I've been proven innocent. Okay, that's great.
Because they believed him anyway. And then, you know, if they really wanted to see the evidence so badly, then just go to the court case. Because it would be
just
shown...
wait. It won't take long. But the fact that Jack left the USB with Keegan to do whatever he wants.
To mull it over. He was like sat there with the USB stick in his hand, kind of like looking at it as if saying, oh, what do I do now? Oh, I've got a Facebook page.
And then like how he said, oh, even if you get proven innocent, it might be on your record. And Keegan was like, what? I'll have something on my record. It's like when we were first introduced to Keegan, he had got done for, wasn't it like doing something to his teacher, like with a glass bottle, like threatening a teacher or something?
Yeah, he'd been expelled from school.
Yeah, so that he probably has a record already, Keegan. So it's a bit weird how like we're being told that Keegan's this angel.
This is
when
what surprises me.
He never has been an angel.
Because let's not forget that Keegan has quite strong responsibility toward Shakil's death. Because he was the one who stole the bike.
And lying to he slept with Louise when she was passed out.
Yeah.
And making her think he raped her when he didn't.
Yeah.
That was like a weird moment in his history.
And kicked Denise's flower bed.
That's the main thing that he's done. They're now living together. But
they're BFFs.
Yeah.
And Denise is supporting Keegan as well.
So it's all a bit funny, this storyline. Yeah. I know it's a really good storyline, it needs to be told.
It's an excellent storyline.
But it's just wondering if it's the wrong character to focus on. Yeah, like maybe the Trumans could have had this storyline.
What, Patrick?
And Denise, Kim, like, I don't know.
They couldn't have given it to Issac, though, because Issac has got... Again, people. It's something about people with colour, isn't it? They have a very shady past, apparently, in EastEnders. They can't be introduced to the Panissers. Like, they all have a shady past.
Apart from Ash.
And Jax.
That we know of.
And Jax, yeah. Well, we're exactly saying what we know of, because there was hints 2-3 weeks ago that Ash also has
it was a bit evil.
Well, and she said this is what we do as a family. So obviously something's happened in the past where they've kind of had to cover each other's backs.
Or even Ikra, Habiba and Bobby, because they had that bit where they were threatened on the streets. And that was really good, seeing Bobby, who's converted to being a Muslim. And it was a really interesting look at how they were now judging Bobby in that way. So
I agree with you on that.
They could have done stuff like that. But with the Keegan stuff, it's like we're almost being told, oh no, Keegan's always been good, when we know he hasn't. And now he's he's living with Jack for free. Jack's taken this evidence and now he's just thrown it kind of in Jack's face for no real reason. He's put it online.
Jack's done him a huge favour here. A huge favour. A favour that,
he didn't have to do.
Numerous other people. Well, he did. He was put in a bit of a corner. Because
I know, but like...
Denise after him, Keegan after him,
Mitch.
Tiff after him, Mitch after him. And so in the end, he was
God,
I'm exhausted. Okay, yeah, and he did it.
And then Keegan's like, oh no, I'll put it online. Like, because he said in case it goes missing and the police want to not admit that this evidence has come through, well, make a copy of it, and if that does happen, you can go, okay, the police lied.
Yeah.
Here's my expose.
And he would have a copy of it too, because in order for him to post this video onto his social media...
From his phone,
he would have had to upload it onto his computer first, then put it into some sort of drive, then take that drive and put it onto his phone, and then put it from his phone onto the...
social media.
There's so many steps for him to do. He might as well just thought, oh, you know what?
I'll just keep this just in case.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a bit like, oh, Keegan, why have you done this?
It's just such a strange mistake for people not to. It's such an obvious mistake as well. It's the Whitney in a room with windows and doors that she could leave at any time kind of mistake.
And I forgot about that. I put that behind my mind, actually.
And it's treating the audience as if we're stupid, and we're not stupid. It was spotted.
And it's also
straight
treating
away.
the characters like they're stupid. They're making all these choices this week, which you can sit there and just pick it apart for eternity. And it's like, oh, so that's annoying.
And we have picked it apart. I mean, I feel like this whole episode.
Welcome to Walford Weekly.
I mean, I want people to listen, if they've got this far, to know that we do love EastEnders. We do. We genuinely 100% love EastEnders. Like, in previous weeks, we gushed about EastEnders. But this week has just been exceptionally bad. With
just strange choices.
There's so many choices that have just been mistakes.
Yeah, very just. I'm exhausted, actually, quite frankly. I need a break for lockdown. But that is the whole week wrapped up. And I managed to find my minus points for each one. I'll do some plus points for each one. Ben and Callum's little touch of the neck. Callum kissed him on the neck now. That's new.
Okay.
Hadn't done that before, so that's sweet.
That's nice.
Rainie and Stuart, lovely couple. They're quite happy together. And toddler Abby appeared, which is good points.
It was good to see
And
toddler
Habiba
Abby.
Appeared, which is nice for everyone.
Habiba appeared?
She was on the show.
Oh, I see.
That's a plus. That's a plus point.
But wasted.
The Jean storyline, Kush, Davude is finally getting some material, which he's needed. So that's a plus point. We love Davude.
Kush actually, no.
Kush and Shirley together works well. Kush and Jean work well. Kush and Mo, he can do it all, can't he?
Can we quickly go back with Kush? It's nice to see Kush, Davude, doing all this work. No, genuinely, past his muscles, he's just been such a
nice guy.
There's such a light in the Slater family. Like, he's really, and I mean, if it wasn't for Kush, I genuinely believe it had been any other actor that was portraying this worry toward Jean's for her storyline.
It would be a repeat and boring.
It would be even worse, yeah. And the fact that it's Kush
brings something new to it.
Yeah, and it really makes Kush this likeable and lovable character. And I hope that they use that for a future story.
He's always been a nice guy. Plus points for Lola, Jay and Peter isn't any. With the Keegan storyline, Maisie Smith's involved, that's always good. Denise is involved. So that's some plus points. So we're going to move on now to comments from our listeners to see what they thought of the week and if they agree or disagree with us.
You know me, I ain't one to gossip.
Yes, well, after that exhausting recap of the week, I think it's time that we read out some of your comments, some of your thoughts of the week as well on our Twitter, our Instagram and our Facebook group. Details will be at the end of the show, so stay tuned for details about that. And also how you can vote on our Walford Weekly 3rd Annual Awards. Yeah, that's happening. This is
about
happening.
That as well. So much goes on.
May has always been a busy month for us. It just so happens that it seems to have fallen on a lockdown at the same time. So this week on our social media, we asked you which Walford establishment would you like to disappear and who would you like to run a new business to replace it with? And we asked you for comments and suggestions. And we've had lots.
I closed down the Prince Albert and opened a gay bar.
Funny you should mention that because someone does say very similar thing.
Oh, do they?
I might as well go straight to it. @_EastEnders_ said the Prince Albert, as it seems to be a hangout for straight people now. So, would you like to hear some more?
Yes.
Okay. @MTiga Maureen, hope I said your name right, on Twitter said, I want Bobby and Peter to run a restaurant in honour of Lucy to replace Walford East. It will bring the brothers closer and they can put Lucy to rest one final time.
Yeah, then call it Lucy's.
Yeah.
Like Lucy's Lounge.
Like
Cafe
it.
Lounge.
Like the Lizard Lounge. But Lucy's. I'm a bit worried by what they mean by to put to rest one final time, because it sounds like they're going to dig up Lucy's grave and put it underneath.
No, I think they mean emotionally between Peter and Bobby, all that emotional baggage.
Good, I'm glad you
put behind them in Lucy's Lounge.
Good. Yes, I like that idea. @James_7_7_ says, bring back the Argy Bargy. I'd love to see Father Panasar be introduced and run it alongside his family. Yeah, I'd like to see that. You always see the Argy Bargy in the background.
Yeah, it's still there. The set's there, but it's just got graffiti all over it. It's been closed for decades.
And if they're moving over to the new set, they might as well use it. Especially, it'd be a good one of those sets that they could easily use as an inside-outside set, like the Minute Mark.
They used to use it all the time, the Argy Bargy, for loads of storylines.
It's where Christian and Saeed had their wedding.
Yeah, and the roof fell in.
Before the roof collapsed, yeah.
What's going on?
At Jeff Doherty 6 says somebody shady takes over the Prince Albert, converts part of it into a very high-end women's clothing store that no one in Walford can afford. This is to keep the clothing part empty because the back of the building next door is converted into a high-end brothel.
Oh yeah, you told me not to read the comments, and I said I can't remember which one I replied
know,
to.
It's meant to be a surprise when we
That
talk
was the
about
one
it.
I remember now because I thought of a way to bring back Pat Butcher.
Wait, I was going to say, shall I read out your reply?
If you want.
At Walford Weekly replied, on opening day we get the reveal that none other than Pat Butcher is running the business and she has been hiding for all these years, slowly building up her empire.
Yeah, she's got a history of being a pimp from that dark days of Johnny Allen where they rewrote her background. Mm-hmm. So it could work. Bring back Pat.
And it would kind of explain the story when she was on the stairs when Peggy died. She was there all along.
She actually was there.
She actually was there. On Instagram, Sharon Watts _perm says, replace the salon with a bridal boutique run by Sharon and Michelle. And even better, with Vicky too.
Sharon would not get involved in that.
Yeah, she would. If she had her best friend and her
She wouldn't do
sister
anything.
there.
She would just stand there. She would drink champagne with them. Wouldn't she?
She'll be back. She'll be there for they could do like a kind of a spin-off, like a Don't Tell the Bride episode in there. And they could do it like Michelle and Sharon's there, as they reveal the dress, and the person who's getting married could be really upset.
Michelle could hire Julie from the 80s. Julie's hairdressers.
Yeah, I love Julie. Bring back Julie. She was the only good thing about the 87, 89 era. And they got rid of her.
Although the actress has passed away, so you'd have to recast her, so maybe not.
Or just bring Pat Butcher back from the back. She could have been starting a boutique empire. EastEnders _cast card says, I really want the Minute Mart to have a revamp. It's such a boring shop.
Turn it into a Tesco. It's halfway there.
This is halfway, no pun intended. The thing is that I genuinely believe that if the BBC became a commercial entity, the licence fee was scrapped. That would be a Tesco Metro.
Yeah, it's already got the mints in there, chocolate mints.
And I think the Queen Vic would become a Wetherspoons.
No.
It would.
No, the Albert or something would be that, like the other pub.
Yeah.
The Feathers or whatever.
Yeah.
Or Rubies. Well, it wouldn't be the Vic, but it would be another establishment.
And let's be honest, if the community centre would have been knocked down by now and turned into some kind of private entity, because the council were selling off council buildings left, right and centre.
Yeah.
Talking of which, at C Weaver UUPO on our Twitter said, I think replacing McClunkey's chicken shop or Bill's fish and chip shop would be better, and I'd like to see it replaced as a local MP's office, which is run by Denise. She's got her 1 GCSE.
Oh yeah, well Ian could work because he's an MP.
He's a council
And he
MP.
can hire Denise to work for him. It would be like Hattie and Ian, the older years, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that'd be fun. One last one then from Roof84664104.
Mm-hmm.
I love the ones with numbers at the end. It just shows that you just said yes to your first Twitter name suggestion. Says on Twitter, I would replace the Minute Mart with one of those typical London bits and bobs shops where you can buy anything from a washing basket, hula hoops, oil-filled heaters, cutlery, anything you want.
Yeah, like the things that sell like memorabilia for I Love London and stuff.
Pound Stop.
Oh, like a pound store.
Yeah,
Oh,
99p
Ian used to have
store.
one of them
He
because
did.
Mel worked there.
It was called Bill's Marketplace, wasn't it? Because the whole market were upset because he was selling everything that the market sold.
Yeah,
he literally combined the whole market into one small shop.
I could see like if Heather was around, she'd work there. Like that's like a Heather job.
Heather's dead.
I know. Like Jags would
That's
work
a Jags
there.
job, isn't it?
Yeah.
He could work there with Habiba. That would be like their calamity joke stories.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing I can see it as being. I'm going to read some comments from our Facebook group. Don't forget you can join us by searching EastEnders Weekly Podcast on Facebook and then clicking to join the group. It's a hive of activity. And here are a few comments of people of what they thought about this week on EastEnders. Rebecca Swain said, not the most amazing episodes, but I love Jean and Suki's feud.
Yeah.
Then them sniping at each other across the cafe is way better than Martin and Ben dangling each other off bridges. That's true. Do you reckon
I think
Suki
that
could be
bridge
dangled off a
hanging
bridge?
moment,
Yes.
the bridge hanging moment, was possibly the point of no return. Maybe like from there. It
You
was
said
a bit
that
like,
about the baby swap story.
No, like that was where the BBC
new-
weren't allowed to do it. But like the new executive producers from Martin hanging upside down on the bridge was like everyone's disbelief has just gone out the window and you can do whatever you want. I think that's like the moment, I feel.
Not the kidnapping of Keanu, then pretending he died, and then 2 months where you had Linda keeping the secret.
No, the bridge thing was before that.
That's what I'm saying. Oh, that's true. But I
Yeah.
thought that was fine.
Yeah, but that was like the cusp of like, what's happening?
We're turning gangster with EastEnders again, aren't we?
I
Samantha...
wouldn't say no to a Tubbs return, though.
Yeah, but that's, again, for
His blue
reasons that
eyes.
are personal to
His
you.
blue eyes.
Samantha Jane Broughton has said, I hate the fact that it was Ben's idea to use Callum just because he needs the approval and love of his so-called dad.
Which he already allegedly had. So why is he trying to get it again?
Well, because Phil then ran off again in the kitchen, didn't he? When he was talking about his operation.
If I was Ben, I would just pop over to Kathy and just focus on my relationship with her.
Kathy was mentioned this week, but not seen.
No, she's on it next week, everyone.
Oh, good, yeah. Stay tuned.
She
for
remembers that Ben is her son.
and she owns a pub.
But that's a much more interesting relationship because we've seen Ben and Phil when Ben was young and Kathy allegedly died. We need to see the relationship now that she is alive and in his life. More Kathy. That's what it's missing.
Give Kathy a storyline.
Yeah, any storyline.
We successfully built up the bills. It was our campaign last year.
And that's not good.
No, we failed while succeeding.
But yeah, any storyline for Kathy. I'll even accept background music for Kathy.
Wow.
No, I wouldn't actually. I'd take that back.
All right, Peterville.
No.
No. And because we like light and shade on this podcast, although you wouldn't believe it listening to it this week, Katrina Coughlin, again, if I've said your name wrong, I apologise, has said, I thought this week was very good. Even the stories I'm not particularly engaged with managed to hold my interest. Last week felt like the worst couple of episodes I've seen all year, saved only by the Phil and Linda scenes. See, I thought last week was fine. This week just was
There was more
tumble.
pros last week because there was lots of little two-hand, but there was still lots of weird things last week as well.
Yeah.
There's weird things every week. I might just go and watch February 2019 to August again.
I know you seem to be enjoying the recaps, aren't you? The old episodes.
Oh, the old ones.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm
sorry.
watching 2003 at the moment.
You are.
I'm watching from when Vicky's first introduced until Den's funeral, I think. It's a little era. 2003 to 2005.
Lovely. That's a moment.
Yeah, it'd be good.
That's a choice. And we should say that we will be doing our roundup on 1993 very soon because we're coming to the end of that on the Drama Channel as well. So
just-
get ready for an hour of gushing over. We could make that a separate podcast.
What a masterpiece that was.
We could just gush and gush and gush over 93.
They've gone to France, they've gone to Southampton, they've gone to Amsterdam.
Amsterdam.
It's just kicking off everywhere.
We need to visit all these places they visited. If anyone wants to pay for us to travel all these places, obviously we can't do it right now.
No, that's going to be a series where we recreate scenes that were filmed in all these places.
That'd be fun.
I'll be Michelle, you can be Clyde in Portsmouth.
Well, I don't want to be Clyde. I want to be Sharon.
You can be Mark, he was there.
I'll be Mark. Can I be in France? Can I be Pat and you be Frank?
Okay.
That's my favourite scene of the year. Anyway, we're talking too early. We're not discussing the retro year of 1993 just yet.
No.
If you guys want to get in touch with us, there are numerous ways you can. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram by looking at Walford Weekly, and you can find our Facebook group, as I mentioned earlier, just by searching Walford Weekly Podcast and clicking to join. You may or may not know, we have a YouTube channel. Just search Walford Weekly Podcast and then have a quick trawl through all our videos. This week we released a video of me watching TikTok.
About EastEnders.
Of EastEnders TikToks, of course.
Yeah.
And talking of which, we have an EastEnders TikTok, EastEnders Weekly TikTok page at Walford Weekly. Join us. It's fun. And don't forget you can vote for the Walford Weekly 3rd Annual Awards. Just go to bit.ly/WalfordVote20.
And we've got more vlogs coming from our lockdown.
Yes.
Because people keep saying they enjoy our vlogs.
Yes.
We've got 2 so far where we cook things. But there is a 3rd one on its way, everyone.
And let's just say we recorded it yesterday and
It was a mess.
it's a masterpiece. What we create is a thing of beauty. You've heard of the Mona Lisa. This knocks it out of the water. Just to let you know as a tease. Anyway,
Lots of things coming on YouTube, which is fun.
So find our YouTube channel, join in.
It's our only source of income right now. So.
Jokes aside, it really is.
£10 a month, we love it.
Thanks for joining us, as always. We all hope that you're staying safe. Everyone in the UK, hope you're staying alert. And join us again for the podcast, where we may talk a bit about EastEnders in a bit more positive light next week.
That should be the tagline for EastEnders. Writers, stay alert.